But we were talking earlier. I haven't had my invitation yet to the coronation. Yours hasn't arrived yet either. Don't know what's going on there.
I'm blaming the Royal Mail.
I mean, I don't know if there's a strike on or something, but I haven't had my invitation. I'm just saying, I wasn't expecting to be on the list. Harry, we now know, will be there. Meghan will not, neither will their children. But let's talk about who will be there with Daniel Brittain, who's a constitutional historian. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. I have to say, I do think the PR operation coming out of Buckingham Palace at the moment is extraordinarily good. This drip of information about what's happening at the coronation, the service. We haven't heard all the details yet, but who might be there. But we heard a lot this weekend about the ceremony, the procession, and who's going to be there. In particular, military, but also NHS workers as well. Tell us a bit more.
Let me just tell you, Julia, I've got this tie with wildflowers on in the hope that someone might think, oh, that's just like the ones on the coronation invitation. We better invite that bloke.
Good luck.
And you're absolutely right. It is a drip operation, and that's very much the intention of the palace. Now, what was your question?
So what?
I remember it now.
So yes,
so long ago.
So who's going to be there? 6,000 men and women from the armed forces, but we also know a huge number of NHS personnel asked to take part in this ceremony, on this procession. It's going to be a shorter procession than normal, fewer military, but we're told it's this big celebration of our military forces.
Well, we do have far fewer military resources than we did in 1953. And you've got to remember that was only, 8 years after World War II. We had huge operations around the world, particularly in West Germany, for example. We'd even had them in Austria after the war. We had the Empire in the Far East. All that has gone. It is 70 years ago. And it's no surprise at all that the military is far smaller. I know there are arguments about how small it should be, but nevertheless, it's not a big surprise that it's smaller. We did have an awful lot of armed forces after the Second World War. Things are different now. And also, of course, there were a number of countries in what was then called the Empire.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't exist to any practical extent, except a few dots in the Caribbean and the South Atlantic Ocean.
So you're just not going to have those numbers. I mean, again, we can barely fill up Wembley Stadium with our armed forces. There's no doubt at all at the Queen's funeral. I mean, the pomp and the ceremony was absolutely extraordinary. The colour, the precision, it was absolutely beautiful and a wonderful tribute to her. There's no doubt at all, though, that this coronation doesn't feel like it's going to be such a big affair. We haven't got the 70 years sort of love and respect for her as monarch. We've got that now for King Charles. There's a bit more controversy surrounding him. The controversy about whether or not Harry, was going to be here or not. It was scaled down at a time when people are facing a cost of living crisis. Do you think that's all impacting on the plans?
Well, actually, there are going to be more troops on display at the coronation than there were at the Queen's funeral. It's going to be different, and it's certainly going to be a very, very different coronation to in 1973. I mean, look, this is the country life coronation issue from 1953. You only have to look through here to see what an extraordinarily different place we are, the very best. Yeah. Buildings of empire.
We're in colour now. That always helps.
We're in colour. It is different, but it's. I think come the day, the enthusiasm is likely to be there. It will be a big event. There will be a lot of display, but it's not going to be the same as last time. As for the nurses, well, it rather reminded me of the 2012 Olympics, where the NHS was massively celebrated in that opening ceremony. We do adore our nurses.
We have two established religions. We have Christianity and we have the NHS, and that's what it. Can I ask you just finally about Prince Harry? We've heard lots at the weekend about why he's coming and Meghan's not coming, and battles over where they were going to sit in the ceremony. As a non-working royal now, but being very senior royal nevertheless. Balcony place. Whether attending all these different events. Do you think that is what it's been all about rather than anything else?
I hope it isn't. I have to admit the Harry saga is not one that has completely gripped me over the last couple of years. But all I can say is, say the words of Sir Winston Churchill, jaw is better than war. Speaking to each other is a lot better than in print against each other, and I can only hope that starts to resolve the situation.
Indeed. Thank you very much, constitutional historian Daniel Brittain. Thank you for that.